Hello and welcome to the launch of the World Bank Group's new flagship report, Nourish and Flourish, Water Solutions to Feed 10 Billion People on a Livable Planet. Now, you may wonder why we are talking about the subject of water use in agriculture at a time when it may seem from the outside that there are other hot-button issues dominating headlines concerning geopolitics and disruption in global supply chains. Well, that's exactly the reason why this issue is so important. Right now, there is much cause for concern over food output, equitable food distribution, and food prices. For countries heavily dependent on food imports, the glaring problem of food insecurity demands urgent attention. Water is at the heart of food security, and that is why this report is so important. And food security, remember, is at the heart of jobs, stability, and growth. Today, agriculture accounts for 70%, that's right, 70% of global freshwater withdrawals. Yet millions of farmers still struggle with unreliable water access, rising climate shocks, and low productivity. Countries need to balance water and water use in food production, because in doing so, they will be able to 1. Boost crop yields, 2. Attract more private capital to build scale, and 3. Generate major employment opportunities, and that's a big one. In fact, on that third point, expanding sustainable irrigation could potentially create at the very least, 245 million jobs globally. That's 250 million jobs, most of them in Sub Saharan Africa. So what's new in this report, you may ask? Take a look at the slide. That'll just come up for you. Global water use in agriculture is deeply imbalanced today. This map, the world map, reflects that imbalance quite perfectly. The regions in pink are overusing water for agriculture, while the regions in green, some parts of Sub-Saharan Africa, some parts of LATAM, are underutilizing their water resources, which is a big opportunity, by the way, because at the World Bank Group here, we're looking at challenges that can turn into big opportunities. And that can lead to huge untapped potential in terms of upping agri output, improving jobs, boosting economic growth, and helping human capital, especially providing better nutrition for children. The bottom line being that globally there is an acute problem of water imbalance, not water scarcity. Let me repeat that for you. The bottom line here is that globally there is an acute problem of water imbalance, not water scarcity. And that's an opportunity to expand agriculture in countries where water is available to be able to boost food production so that 10 billion people can be fed by 2050. Bearing that issue in mind, let's kick off this show with more perspective on this topic, both in-house and from the outside. I would like to take a moment to extend a very, very, very warm welcome and thank participants and speakers who are joining this event online today from all around the world. This event is going live and is being streamed online in 3 languages, English, French, and Spanish. And may I also remind you that as we speak, we have a live chat going on parallelly. So our experts are literally standing by, waiting by, would be more than happy to address your questions. So keep those questions coming in, keep them coming in because your questions matter. And we're really looking forward to more engagement with our viewers through this session. Straight ahead on the show then, we have a candid chat coming up with our Managing Director and Chief Knowledge Officer, Paschal Donohoe, who in a pre-recorded conversation shared his perspective on the need for more efficiency in water management practices globally that would help generate new and better jobs for the youth today and tomorrow. Here's a slice of that conversation. At a time when the world is obsessed about geopolitics and AI, how do you communicate the relevance of this report? How does now become a critical time and an urgent time to address this issue?
Because our world is going to have to feed more people, and we cannot feed more people unless we make better use of the water we have. And what this report lays out are the changes that can be made to the water that is available to our planet to meet the food needs of today and the food needs of tomorrow. And we know that being able to provide food to people is one of the foundational needs that societies have. So it really is that simple. Without making better use of water, we cannot make the food that we will need in the future. In the absence of that food, we will have higher levels of hunger, higher levels of insecurity, and fewer jobs.
Right. Can the government do it alone? And how does the government incentivize? Because you've been a policymaker in the past. How does the government incentivize the private sector to come in with more investments?
So the government cannot do it on its own. Can't do it on its own because the funding needs for water are very large. But the second reason it can't do it on its own, it's because every government has many other needs that it's trying to meet both now and tomorrow. And that's why the private sector has to play a role in relation to it, in relation to the investment that the private sector can make and the need for government to be able to direct that private sector investment in the right way. Right. And within the World Bank Group, we think about that happening in three different ways. Firstly, we look at what are the kind of regulatory changes that have to be put in place to allow the private sector to invest. Second, then, we look at the role in which government can play in mobilising the private sector. And then thirdly, we look at the role in private capital and of course public capital delivering the infrastructure that is needed in order to tackle great issues. And that's very clearly the case with regard to water. What's the human infrastructure we need to supply in terms of education, in terms of training? What's the physical infrastructure we need to provide to deal with, in particular, the challenge of irrigation?
Paschal, so you raise a very important point, which is getting the private sector on the same page as policymakers and government bodies, right? But you're talking about the right policies to be put in place, the right legislation to be put in place, as also the right financing channels. Now, that can be a fairly tricky mix.
And this is where the World Bank Group can come in, because the World Bank can come in a number of different levels in order to be of help. Firstly, a role with regard to policy, and that's what this report is all about. What are the trade-offs that need to be recognised, the policies that can be improved, the hard recognition that needs to be made of how choices in relation to the availability of use of water can impact on agriculture and food. That is the role of this report, and it's a great example of the role the World Bank Group can play. So that's our role with knowledge. Our role then with regard to infrastructure is also very clear, because we are also, of course, a bank. We can play a role in working with governments, working with the private sector, in order to co-fund the infrastructure that is needed to meet the water needs that this report describes. So yes, it is really, really challenging, but our organisation, both as a bank, literally a bank, and as a knowledge bank, can play a key role in dealing with this really important dilemma.
Just wearing your hat as a policymaker, former policymaker, what do you think is the biggest impediment for the private sector to come on board with full gusto? What has been the challenge in PPP not taking off?
I would highlight two matters that I think have influenced it. Firstly, the fact that the difficulty in creating a stable and predictable policy environment that matters to private capital in making very big long-term capital decisions. And the second one I would highlight is maybe a sense, and this goes back to your first question, the private sector, I think, may judge that the issue of water hasn't always received the focus and recognition that it needs from governments. And that in turn has influenced their willingness to commit capital, to commit the resources of their shareholders to tackling this. And what our report aims to do is firstly highlight the profound importance of the availability and use of water to a great need with regard to the supply of more food. And then secondly, to highlight the policy choices that are necessary to create an environment in which private capital wants to come in. And we really do need that because the needs are so great. No government, no matter how committed they are, can deal with this on their own.
A central theme for us, Paschal, here at the World Bank Group is jobs. And so I wonder how transforming agricultural water management is very closely linked to creating job opportunities, especially for young people?
In so many of our countries and economies in which we play a role in their economic development, the availability of water is essential to how we deliver our jobs agenda. And that exists on the most basic and the most fundamental of levels. Yeah. If you can't meet the human needs of people within our society, within our workers, of course they're not going to be in a position to play the productive role that they want to and we need them to play within the economic development of their country. And then, as we've just discussed in our interview, if the water isn't available in the first place, you then can't make the shift from subsistence farming to surplus farming. You can't make the shift from up the value chain when it comes to manufacturing. If you don't have the availability of water, you can't make the progress you need in our 5 areas of job creation in relation to tourism, in relation to manufacturing, in relation to agriculture that we've just touched on. So the water and the availability of it is fundamental to all of that.
Thank you very much, Paschal, for your time.
Thank you very much.
And this lovely conversation.
Many thanks. Thank you.
Insightful. So there you have it. You heard it from an ex-policy maker who previously served as Minister of Finance for Ireland, Paschal Donohoe, explaining the role of the private sector in building better water infrastructure to help boost food output. Now let's go across to the other side and understand what the private sector players are doing in this regard. Let's bring on board Jean-Pascal Tricoire, who's the chairman of Schneider Electric, who has very kindly taken the time out to share his insights on how private entities, through innovation, can galvanize more interest in this sector, thereby achieving success at scale. Jean-Pascal.
Ladies and gentlemen, excellencies, distinguished public and private sector leaders, and colleagues joining us from all around the world. Many thanks to the World Bank Group for bringing us together around one of the defining challenges and a big opportunity of our time. By 2050, the world will need to feed nearly 10 billion people on a planet where water is already under severe stress. Today, 3 billion people and almost half of the global food production are located in water-stressed regions. Groundwater depletion, inefficient irrigation, climate volatility are already putting food systems under pressure. In low and middle-income countries, agriculture is also a major source of employment. When water becomes scarce or unreliable, food security, livelihoods, and social stability are directly at risk. But there is one encouraging news in all this. Solutions already exist, and they can be scaled. At its core, water is a question of efficiency and energy. Using water better, producing more water where it's possible, and moving water more efficiently where water is needed. At Schneider Electric, we believe the transformation of agricultural water management sits at the intersection of electrification and digitization. When you use technology right, it can close the water gap while strengthening food and energy resilience at the same time. Across the whole water cycle, from abstraction and treatment to pumping, desalination, distribution, reuse, we work with public and private partners to design, operate, optimize more efficient, digitized, and resilient water systems. This includes advanced water recycling, smart irrigation, precision farming, the tracking and elimination of water losses, desalination at scale, data-driven water-saving practices, and use of AI at every level. By combining automation and digital control with energy-efficient electrification, we today can save up 15% of water and improve operational efficiency by up to 25%, even in challenging conditions. Well, Once we've said that, what does this look like in practice? In Egypt, water reuse is a national priority. At the Al Masama Agricultural Drainage Treatment Project, which is one of the largest water reuse facilities, we treat and reuse around 1 million cubic meters of water every day. This has enabled the expansion of more than 70,000 acres of farmland, turning previously unproductive land into productive agriculture, supporting jobs, food production, and people relocation. These principles are not limited to large infrastructure projects. Actually, most of the projects we see today in the field of water are small projects. In India, for instance, Schneider Electric supports solar-powered, digitally monitored irrigation system which empower farmers to operate pumps remotely using mobile phones. This improves safety dramatically by eliminating the need to go on site, while reducing energy costs on waterways. Thousands of solar irrigation pumps are already in operation, empowering those farmers in improving their crops and the life of their community. Same approach applies directly at the farm level with much larger systems. Through Schneider Aviva smart farming solutions, farmers gain real-time visibility into water flows, soil conditions, weather data, on system performance. Instead of irrigating on fixed schedules, water is applied based on actual crop needs, saving water while maintaining or increasing yields. Optimization technologies reduce the energy required to more water, delivering energy savings of 10 to 20%. Digital tools simplify operations, enable early fault detection, reduce downtime, and support new skills. They strengthen rural employment and long-term system reliability. Crucially, these solutions are modular, replicable, and investable. They can be scaled through partnerships with governments, development banks, and the private sector, delivering clear economic, social, and environmental returns. We do not need to wait for the next innovation to address the water issue. We can do a lot by deploying at scale what we already have. At Schneider Electric, we stand ready to work with all of you, governments, financial institutions, farmers, and partners across the value chain to turn agricultural water management into a powerful engine for shared prosperity, progress, and sustainability for all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jean-Pascal, for your keynote address and for your commitment to agricultural water management. May I next invite on the show, with the drum rolls going, the authors of this flagship report, Amal Talbi, who's lead water specialist, World Bank Group, and Peter Wallabian, who's lead water resources management specialist, World Bank Group. They will be joining us and giving us a crisp presentation that highlights the solutions the group is offering to make life healthier for a growing population. Amal and Peter, over to you. Great to see you.
Thank you, Tanvir. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you for joining us to discuss a question that is at the heart of development. Can we feed nearly 10 billion people by 2050 while keeping the planet livable and supporting livelihoods, growth, and jobs? Our new report, Nourish and Flourish, argues that we can, and it shows how. But first, the broader context. Every day, global agriculture feeds billions of people. It is one of humanity's greatest achievements. But as global population grows by about 200,000 per day, on the way to nearly 10 billion by 2050, the question is no longer whether we can produce enough food, it's whether we can do it sustainably. Agricultural water use is out of balance. Food systems and water system are tightly linked, and today they are misaligned. As you see on this slide, in some parts of the world there is water that could support more productive agriculture and more jobs, but it's not being fully leveraged. In other regions, food is produced in ways that deplete water resources, pushing rivers, aquifers, and ecosystems beyond safe limits. So we have a global food-water imbalance. This imbalance will show up in higher food prices, more volatility, and greater vulnerability, especially for the poorest household. In a world population growth and changing climate, business as usual will not feed 10 billion people sustainably, nor will it provide decent jobs and livelihood at scale. Before we explore the solution offered by Nourish and Flourish, I'd like to hand things over to Peter.
Thank you, Amal. Yeah, so the starting point of the report is that context matters. Countries face very different water realities and play different roles in the global food trade. We capture this with two very simple questions on water and food. One, what is the level of water stress? Is a country relatively water secure or water stressed? And two, is it a net importer or an exporter of food? That gives us four types of context: water secure importers, water secure exporters, water stressed exporters, and water stressed importers. Each of them faces different choices. The key point is that the same policy will not work everywhere. Countries need tailored combinations of actions. Context 1. Water secure food importer. You have water capacity, but you import much of your food. If water can be used sustainably for agriculture, that's an opportunity, and in some countries an imperative, to overcome lack of access, expand agricultural production, and strengthen resilience, while building the systems that can actually scale. Context 2. Water secure food exporter. You're starting from a position of strength. You already produce food successfully, water stress is relatively low. The priority here is to protect that advantage. Keep improving productivity while strengthening institutions and accountability, and make sure growth stays within environmental limits. Context 3. Water-stressed food exporter. This is a high-risk position. You're producing export crops under water stress. The path forward is not simply more water, it is smarter water. Higher productivity per drop, better governance and allocation, and, where appropriate, non-conventional sources. And it requires making some hard choices: what to grow, where to grow it, how to bring production back within environmental limits. Context 4. Water-stressed food importer. This is probably the most complex situation. You are dependent on global markets for calories, and you're under serious water stress at home. Here, incremental fixes aren't enough. The work is broader transformation. That can mean shifting crops and production systems, improving water productivity and allocation, supporting economies and livelihoods that are less exposed to water risk. It also means coordination. It goes beyond irrigated agriculture, an integrated response across water, agriculture, environment, and social policy. This framework, with its four contexts, does not give you the answer. It gives you the starting point, helping policymakers and societies at large evaluate, make trade-offs that reflect local realities. Over to you, Amal, for more on that.
Yes, let us now examine how we make this transformation a reality. The report offers 8 policy recommendations covering the main levers of agriculture water management. The process is straightforward, even if work is not. Start with an accurate baseline. Where are you really on water, agriculture, jobs, and livelihood? Build coordination across sectors, because water doesn't follow administrative boundaries. Use data that set direction. Debate water and agriculture futures and create feedback loops. Set clear goals, then build service delivery that is performance-driven, not just infrastructure-driven. And diversify financing, bringing private sector investment, because no government can do this alone. None of this happens without 3 foundational enablers, which Peter will share now.
The first foundational enabler is vision and coordination. Amal already alluded to this. Countries that successfully transformed agricultural water management had one thing in common: leadership. Someone decided it mattered, embraced the trade-offs, built the institutions to make it work. Water, agriculture, environment, and finance working together. Without shared vision and coordination, investments fragment and reforms stall. That brings us to the second enabler: incentives, services. Right now, many subsidies work against sustainability. Engineering alone will not fix that. Too often, agricultural support rewards overuse, pays for infrastructure rather than performance. Shifting incentives changes the rules, which then changes the game. We must move from hardware to services, from distorted subsidies to performance-based delivery, from short-term spending to results-based financing and risk-sharing that attracts private investment. And it's not just about money. Farmers need reliable services, water when they need it, technical support, access to markets, information. When services are reliable, farmers do actually invest. And finally, change is enabled by data and technology. We cannot manage what we do not measure. Too many billion-dollar decisions are made with incomplete information. The answer is to institutionalize this water data. Satellite imagery, sensors, digital tools, make that information open, usable, and ready for debate. Not locked in a ministry, shared, transparent, actionable. When farmers, operators, policymakers, and the general public see the same picture, accountability follows. Without these enablers, even the best investments can fall short. But get them right, and agricultural water management becomes what it truly is, a foundation for climate resilience, inclusive growth, and jobs. Thank you. Back to Amal for some key takeaways.
Let me close with 3 things. Not conclusions, but invitations to nourish and flourish. The first is an invitation to think differently about context and the definition of success. Feeding nearly 10 billion people sustainably is possible, but it depends on how each country balances food production with water resources. There is no one-size-fits-all pathway. When we accept that and stop searching for that universal solution, we open a far richer conversation on goals and trade-offs. One that moves beyond more irrigation, less water, more self-sufficiency, to something more resilient and more durable. The second is an invitation to see what's actually at stake. This is not a story about crops and canal. It's a story about people. If we get water and food policy right, one action alone, expanding sustainable irrigation, could create at least 245 million jobs. That's generation of livelihood and firmer future. And that number is just sustainable irrigation. Before we even count the jobs created through investment on storage, processing, transport, and markets across the value chain. The third is an invitation to be bold, because getting there will require more than incremental improvement. It will require U-turns, a fundamental rethinking on how we invest, how we deliver, and how we measure success. We have never had better tools to do it. The innovations are here. The financing models are emerging. The private sector is ready to engage if we create the conditions. So yes, the challenge is immense, but so is the opportunity. So the question is not whether we can transform agricultural water management, is whether we will act fast enough. Thank you. Over to you, Tanvir.
Thank you very much, Amal and Peter, for your insights and key takeaways from this report. And as Amal, you said, this is really the story about the people. This is really the story about our farmers. You know, viewers, I always feel as an ex-journalist that you can have a real sense of any problem only and only by talking to people affected by it, people at the center of it. It's when you hear their pain, their suffering, their struggles, that you truly come up with solutions that can potentially transform their lives. In this case, it is the farmers in the fields working round the clock to feed us all, to feed you, feed me, feed themselves, trying to yield a better crop so that we can consume better food. It's important to understand their plight because at the end of the day, every farmer matters. Water in farming matters, and increasing food output through better use of water is the way forward. So let's take a listen to voices from the field next.
Duk abin da muke samu ne gaskiya ya fi na da. Tunda da aika daya ana samun kamar buhu 15 haka, zuwa 20, amma yanzu Allah ya taimake mu muna samun kamar buhu 30 a eka ɗaya ko 35.
Mình chỉ có bật cái điện thoại lên là mình biết cái mực nước của mình nó vừa đủ hoặc là nó thiếu. Cái thứ hai nữa là cũng như là cái đo mà đối với cái điện thoại á, thì nó chuẩn xác hơn, nó chính xác hơn cũng như cái mắt thường mình. Theo như tôi người nông dân thì tôi mới sử dụng có 2 vụ nay thôi thì tôi thấy rất tiết kiệm nước cho bà con.
هم فصل سال ما هم کار داریم هم از حسابی درآمدمان زندگیمون رو پیش میبریم. 7 جای کاری داریم. 3 تا همسایه ها زنهای خانشین بودن، من با کار جلب کردم.
Dari hasil panen gitu bisa biayain anak, bisa nabung buat kuliah anak.
Wannan abin da muke yi yanzu tumatir za mu dasa. Kuma ga shinkafa nan a tsaye, in an kun biyu muna so wannan shinkafar tana gama muna yanke ta alkama ko muke so mu sawa wani guri.
After watching that video, many of your viewers out there would understand why Water Forward and AgriConnect are such core strategic initiatives at the World Bank Group. The next leg of this show will bring together a panel of experts who can talk more about the solutions at hand and the practicality behind executing them, as also what can be done to overcome real-life challenges. We have a panel discussion coming up on scaling solutions through policy, finance, and partnerships. And may I introduce our esteemed panelists for this panel discussion. We are joined by His Excellency Minister Luis Planas Puchades, who's Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries and Food from Spain. Spain, as you all know, is known for having successfully modernized its irrigation facility, its irrigation infrastructure. And our second panelist on this panel discussion is Dr. James Mwangi, who's Group CEO and Managing Director, Equity Group Kenya, which has expanded access to finance across 6 African countries, including smallholder farmers. Welcome, welcome, gentlemen, and thank you so very much for sparing the time to be with us on this show. Let me start off with you, Your Excellency, Minister Planas, on the situation in Spain. Now, Spain has achieved a remarkable modernization plan of a large share for its irrigated land over the past 2 decades. What were the critical conditions, Minister, that made this transformation possible, politically, institutionally, and financially, you think? And what are 2-3 lessons you would most want other countries to take away from Spain's experience?
Good morning from Madrid, and thank you to the World Bank for this kind invitation, and also congratulations for the report Nourish and Flourish, that I think is an excellent instrument to see the future of the primary sector and the challenges that we have to face concerning irrigation. I have to say that the Spanish case is a success one. We have accomplished in the last 30 years transformation of our primary sector about the better use of water. In this sense, we have 3.8 million hectares. That is more or less 22% of our arable land that produces 71% of our output or our primary sector in concerning the agriculture production. So I have to say that this success has been the investment from successive administrations concerning irrigation and concerning also participation of farmers in this process. But I have to say that the key of all is the good use of water. We are in a zone of the world, Spain, in the south of the European Union, very close to the north of Africa, where drought, high temperatures provoke that we have less rain than we had in the past. So we have to make to be as we are a country with a strong agri-food sector. We are the fourth exporter of the Union and European Union, the seventh of the world. We have a very competitive sector in the use of water. I will talk particularly about modernization of the irrigation. It's very important that the new techniques about using less water, less fertilizers, less phytosanitary products are used with digitalization of all the process. Also, because of the cost, the use of renewable energies, and all that makes, I think, very clearly a case, a study case for others. I am eager always to cooperate with other countries, with farmers from other countries of the world to show and to share what we are doing in this area, not only about the use of water, but also the use of non-conventional waters, and even the use in some specific areas, something that is more expensive but also needed, like desalination, for example, in the Canary Islands. All that shows that we have a system that is performing, that is a great help for the future of our farmers. I didn't want to not to mention two extra facts and two extra measures that are very, very important to that. We are confronting climate change, so we need the new genomic techniques with seeds and plants that have more resistance to to have less water and higher temperatures. And also we have the risk management closely linked with our national system of farming insurance. All that provides, I think, a set of instruments, not only irrigation, but the one on NGTs and the one on farming insurance that provides farmer, can we say, a protection about the situation of this roller coaster that sometimes is our climate change in this area of the world. Is that I want to share with others, but I know that each country's situation is different, but I think that our, can we say, experience is valuable to others.
Indeed, Minister, and I'm very glad that you highlighted what worked for you to boost your agricultural sector at a time when many areas are grappling with underutilization of water for the use in the agricultural space. And it's also heartening to hear that you're willing to exchange knowledge and technical know-how when it comes to modernizing agriculture in other areas that can benefit from your experience. I want to go across to Dr. Mwangi and ask him about how Equity Group, having a strong track record in reaching out to smallholder farmers in Kenya, has been able to successfully galvanize financial support for smallholder farmers. What financial instruments have proven most effective, Dr. Mwangi, at making irrigation equipment affordable, because the price point matters? And also, what conditions need to be put in place for commercial banks to step in and step up access to finance?
Thank you very much. Deeply appreciate the opportunity to be part of this conversation. Let me start off from the onset by saying I'll be sharing lessons from 24 irrigation schemes we have been able to build in rural Kenya. And the first lesson is that we only succeeded because we brought in a partnership between the government, ourselves, and KfW of Germany, the development agency of Germany. So a partnership model, a private-public partnership, is what we saw worked with us very well. The second aspect of it is that that partnership was able to help us achieve breaded finance. Breaded finance in the sense that the government was able to borrow from KfW the amount of money, 50% of the cost of the project, and that was given to the farmers as a grant, and the government took the responsibility. Equity Bank gave the balance 50% as a commercial loan spread over 8 years, so that the tenure allows the farmers to be able to pay the loan comfortably and affordably. So that concept of breaded finance reduced the cost to the farmer and made the whole project affordable and spread, particularly the cost of infrastructure.
Right. It's, again, very insightful that you touched upon that. And we'll come back to that point in a bit once again to you, Dr. Mwangi. But I want to bring in another angle into this discussion. And Your Excellency, I do want to get your thoughts, and Minister from Spain, on the public-private partnership model through the State Society for Agricultural Infrastructure. Dr. Mwangi, I'll just come back to you in a bit. You know, that model blends public financing with irrigator contributions to modernize irrigation. Minister, which elements of this PPP approach, particularly those that mobilize and sustain private sector investment, are most transferable, you think, to other countries? Because you were talking about that exchange with other countries. And what lessons would you emphasize for governments aiming to strengthen private partnership, to take away from your example?
Yes, I think that oh, sorry.
Dr. Mwangi, this question is for the Minister from Spain. We'll just come back to you, Dr. Mwangi.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Okay, no, just to say that that I think that the system works. We need public investment. For example, in the last 7 years, we have provided 2.5 billion euros to the modernization of our irrigation system. But it's true that the key part is the involvement of the farmers. So through farmers' organizations, what we call comunidades de regantes, we achieve the fact that some of the financial burden of the work is shared by the farmers itself, and I think that makes a degree of personal engagement and professional and business engagement that makes I think more sense to the public investment. I think that this is an excellent example of what we can achieve, because the question is not only the instrument and the governments. The result is what we are providing in terms of food security. That is the real issue.
Right.
When we talk about food security, we need to have a stable production of food, and I think that is, as you said in your question, and that's the elements of what I am trying to show. I think that a very good example that can be extended to other countries of the world.
Thank you very much, Minister, for that. Dr. Mwangi, you were making the point about financing instruments that can help smallholder farmers. I just want to add another element to that thought and to that train of thought that you have, because we are running short on time. So would want to wrap in another question to that point. Kenya's irrigation sector investment plan is recognized as a model for combining infrastructure with financial services and market access, both of which are very important for smallholder farmers. In your view, what is the role of the private sector in ensuring that irrigation investments actually translate into jobs and economic transformation on the ground, from your experience?
I think the first one is organizing the farmers, so that our farmers are in organized form and are able to be at the center of the conversation. The second one is capacitating and building their capability, while at the same time de-risking them, so that commercial money can follow through. The third one is building an ecosystem. If you are building irrigations, you require plumbers, you require electricians in the rural areas, so that the project is done affordably with the right capabilities. And the last one is linkages to the markets. We need to ensure that the end produce access the market, so that the farmers are encouraged by the cash they received.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much, Minister Planas, as well as Dr. Mwangi, for joining us on this panel discussion and giving us your thoughts on agricultural water management. I'm sorry, I wish we could carry on with this discussion, but we have just 15 minutes left on the show. We really, really appreciate your time and your insights and your thoughts, and also the case study that you presented with the success that we've seen with agricultural water management in Spain. Thank you very much once again. And of course, the support that Equity Group has extended out to smallholder farmers. Thank you once again for your time. I would like to bring back on the show Amal Talbi, who's our lead water specialist here at the World Bank Group, to field some viewer questions. Remember, at the start of the show, I told you that we would love to have questions from all of you tuning in. Well, some of you have sent us questions. We can't take all of them because we have just about 15 minutes left, but we'll try and field as many questions as possible through the course of the next few minutes. Amal, lovely to have you back. We have the first question coming in from Spain, Amal, which you want to take up. What technological innovations could transform water management and agriculture, you think?
So agriculture water management, the good news is that it's undergoing a profound digital transformation and innovation. And really, we see innovation at the center of it. So we look at remote sensing. We can see actual monitor crop health, evapotranspiration, and water productivity in near real time. And actually in a way that is much cheaper. So we have really those benefits. And we have artificial intelligence and machine learning that go even further, where we can have also predictive models. So on the ground, for example, soil moisture sensors, laser land leveling, irrigation pressurized systems, smartphone apps such as IriTrack in Uganda are changing how farmers make daily decisions. Solar pumps still a bit expensive, but at capital investment, but operating is very low and it's mitigating. So in a nutshell, agricultural water management indeed is not just an infrastructure question, it's data information shifting to more accountable and performance service using emerging financial model for farmers to access to financing, exactly what Dr. Mwangi has mentioned, and attract private sector investment. Thank you.
Right, Amal, the second question is from Kenya. And this is a very interesting one. I do want to get your thoughts in on this one. I want to listen to your views on this one. What role can women and the youth play in sustainable water management and food production? Because agriculture is typically seen as an old man's profession, so to speak, right? Or an elderly man's profession, so to speak. You know, there is some sort of tag associated with that. And so how can agriculture become a lucrative career opportunity for the youth?
Let me start by saying, actually, the reality is in the world, we already have many women and youth already grow the food that feed the world. So they are already present. What we need is an agricultural water management that is a powerful tool to improve their access to finance, credit, market. We've seen just sustainably expanding irrigation, we could generate more than 245 million jobs globally. And I want to say, these are not abstract numbers. We're talking about livelihoods, economic independence, and dignity for women and youth. Helping smallholder farmers, helping farmers, we've heard it from Minister Planas and from Dr. Mwangi, it means that we can have women and youth contributing to actually boosting the productivity. And what we see, the data shows us, more and better food, adopting innovation. They are really high adopter of innovation and building the climate resilient food system. Thank you.
All right. I also want to take one more question from our viewers, Amal, before we move on and bring in the poll results. Again, we conducted a viewer poll that I'll talk to you about in just a minute. We'll get you the results in just a moment. Yes, okay, those results are on your screen. But just one more question on governance frameworks, because we spoke a lot about that as well, Amal, and institutional models that can effectively align sustainable water management, food security, and private sector participation. Where do you think the secret sauce lies in success here?
I'll tell you what is really what we see as the secret sauce is turning water infrastructure into lasting food security is not just one reform here, one technology, or one investment. It's a whole system change. And if we want just an example to capture this, let's take Spain. We heard from Minister Planas. Spain combined physical modernization of irrigation with digital innovation, institutional reforms, a new financing framework. And what we see, the result was a U-turn, measurable gains in agriculture, water, productivity. So when you get the full package right, exactly what Peter was mentioning, the three levers, when you get that full package right, the impact is profound. And every region of the world, we've looked at the Americas, Africa, Europe, and Asia. There are examples of innovation and practices that have delivered real results with solutions that are working. We couldn't capture, of course, all of the examples of innovation and solution in a global report that is less than 50 pages on such a vital and vast topic. But we tried to reflect many, and let me tell you why. Because contrary to what some may perceive as a backward sector, agriculture water management is very much alive and buzzing with innovation. So we all collectively need to show what works, what we have learned, and help scaling up. And to illustrate quickly this point, if you look at the World Bank Group Water Strategy Implementation Plan, we have what we call scalable solution. There are 7 scalable solutions to address water security and accelerate results and benefits on the ground for people.
Wonderful. Amal, stay right there because we conducted a poll that you're aware of as well to get in viewers to participate and share with us their thoughts on what priority solutions can be put forward to solve the problem of agricultural water management, because it's about everybody, all the big brains coming together and figuring out solutions that are sustainable for the long haul. We got participation from over 700 people, and these are the findings of the poll. These are the poll results on your screen. The overarching message coming straight out from this poll is that small is big, and that you cannot underestimate the strength, the power of the smallholder farmers, especially when they come together and form agricultural cooperatives. So small-scale private investment is a major driver of irrigation growth, is what is coming out from the poll results. There's not been a majority view, but 37% of the respondents did think that that was important. When conditions are right, farmers can co-invest alongside public support. So they're talking about empowering smallholder farmers through financing tools, digital tools, and access to markets. 33% believe investing in resilient agricultural water infrastructure, which is what Amal alluded to, is very, very relevant for the sector and the future of the space. 13% believe reforming policies, having a supporting policy framework, incentives, and financing frameworks will help take this sector forward. 12% believe using data and digital tools to improve water and land use will also be important, while 6%, a minority, say scaling public-private partnerships across value chains can help, can contribute. Amal Talbi, reporter of Nourish and Flourish, one of the authors of Nourish and Flourish, Water Solutions to Feed 10 billion people by 2050. How do you react to the poll results and its findings?
So listen, these results are telling us something really important, and I want to start with that. Let us look at who is at the center of this conversation. Smallholder farmers. 84% of the world farmers are smallholders. They work on less than 2 hectares of lands. We're talking about 500 million farmers, 500 million entrepreneurs, because every farmer is an entrepreneur. They adapt to climate shocks, navigate markets, innovate with whatever resource they have. And this is precisely why we see the potential of artificial intelligence, digital tool, financial and institutional innovation that is really profound in agricultural water management. Because when you de-risk investment for 500 million entrepreneurs, the aggregate impact is staggering. That makes a real change. And we heard Paschal Donohoe saying, no single actor can transform agriculture water management alone. No single government can transform it alone. So this challenge is at its very core a partnership challenge, one that extends beyond public sector, beyond government and farmers, to private sector, civil society, partners, philanthropies, and yes, each of us as consumers, we make choices and these choices send signal. So we all have a role to play. And this poll is reflecting exactly that, the system change we need to feed 10 billion people on a livable planet.
Indeed. Amal Talbi, thank you very much for this report. Thank you very much for your effort, the effort that you put in, your team put in to bringing us this report and helping understand water solutions on a sustainable basis that can help feed 10 billion people by 2050. Thank you very much for reacting to the polls and taking our viewer questions. Before we go, if we have made you curious enough, here is the detailed report, Nourish and Flourish, to feed 10 billion people by 2050 on a livable planet. Please scan the QR code on the screen and get your copy today. If you want to understand more about food production, agricultural production, water use in agriculture, this is a report that you need to read from the House of the World Bank Group. And in my concluding remarks, the urgency of this issue is clear. Water-dependent sectors such as agriculture, energy, and industry support around 1.7 billion jobs worldwide. This means water security underpins our jobs, incomes, productivity, and the growth of our economies. That is also why water is one of the strategic priorities for the World Bank Group. Through the new Water Forward initiative, which you will hear more about at the upcoming spring meetings, and the ongoing AgriConnect initiative, the World Bank Group brings together its expertise in financing and partnerships to help countries address their most urgent challenges in access to water and food production so that we can have better lives, healthier lives in the future. Stay tuned for more on Water Forward at the upcoming World Bank Group spring meetings that are lined up from April 13th to April 18th. Mark those dates on your calendar because those are important dates. We will get some big headlines there when it comes to our Water Forward initiatives. So stay tuned for more. We will see you there. For now, take care. Thank you very much for watching and good luck. Have a great day.
Bye.